The morning after the meeting at the cafe, Kai woke before the alarm and stayed still until the room proved ordinary. He had started doing that after North Hollow without admitting it to himself. Wake. Listen. Inventory the room. Let each familiar sound return to its proper place before moving. It was a small ritual, almost childish, but it kept him from carrying dreams into the day as if they were instructions. The ceiling had its same hairline crack. The pipes ticked behind the wall. Somewhere downstairs, Mrs. Ahn argued with the delivery driver in the exact tone she used for weather, politics, and the price of radishes. Nothing in the apartment announced that a man with polished shoes had slid a warning under Kai's door. That was the problem. Danger did not always arrive with broken locks. Sometimes it borrowed the hallway. Sometimes it wore a gray suit and ordered coffee it never drank. Sometimes it appeared in photographs taken from angles no friend had stood in. Kai had spent so long imagining danger as something that lunged that he was unprepared for danger that filed paperwork and waited. The system hovered at the edge of his sight when he sat up. Body tempering stage 2, Chi 16 of 30 mental strain elevated. Recommended, rest, food, low intensity circulation. Secondary objective active, establish support before next external contact. Kai rubbed both hands over his face. The last line felt almost accusatory. Establish support. The system made it sound like a training exercise, as if people could be placed on a board and guarded by choosing the correct formation. Mina was not a piece. Ryan was not a shield. Han and Lena had their own secrets, their own limits. Still, the warning was right in one way. Keeping everyone separate had made him feel responsible, not safer. Responsible had been a comfortable word because it sounded mature. It had let him mistake secrecy for sacrifice. But responsibility without information had left Mina guessing, Ryan improvising, and Kai making choices while exhausted enough to confuse stubbornness with courage. At school, Mina was waiting by the side entrance with a paper bag from the bakery and a look that dared him to pretend he was fine. Ryan leaned against the wall beside her, arms folded, his usual grin absent. Breakfast, Mina said, holding out the bag. Kai blinked. I'm not hungry. That wasn't one of the choices. She pushed the bag into his hands with the same expression she used when correcting bad math. Inside was a warm egg bun and a carton of soy milk with the straw already loosened. Mina had not brought comfort in the abstract. She had brought calories, protein, and a drink he could finish before class. Her care was practical enough to make arguing with it feel ridiculous. Ryan pushed away from the wall. Eat before she starts listing symptoms. She has a whole face for it now. Mina elbowed him without looking away from Kai. We said we were helping. That starts with you not passing out in math class because you think suffering in silence is a personality. Kai took the bag. It was warm. The simple weight of it unsettled him more than the card had. Thank you. They did not talk about the cafe in the hall. That was Mina's rule, written in the margin of her notebook and underlined twice, no sensitive talk where people drift, linger, or pretend not to listen. Instead, they moved through the morning like ordinary students. Kai answered questions in class. Mina corrected a date in her notes with ferocious precision. Ryan complained about a history quiz and still got most of it right. Ordinary did not erase the pressure. It gave it walls. That was new too. Kai had thought ordinary life was something danger interrupted. Now he was beginning to see it as something that could contain danger for a while. A class bell. A worksheet. Mina's handwriting. Ryan whispering the wrong answer with absolute confidence. These things did not solve anything. They kept the unsolved thing from becoming the only thing in the room. At lunch, Mina claimed the far table by the vending machines, where the buzz covered soft voices. She laid out one page, not the whole notebook. Another rule. The page had been copied by hand, not printed. Kai recognized the precaution before she explained it. No search history at school. No shared files. No leaving the whole trail in one place for someone to photograph or steal. Mina had built secrecy into the research without making it feel theatrical. That frightened him a little. It also made him proud of her, which frightened him more. I checked the name Vale gave you, she said. The Heritage Group exists on paper. Barely. Their address is a rented office. Their website was made 3 months ago. The board members are all people with clean biographies and no useful details. Ryan made a face. So rich people ghosts. Shell people, Mina corrected. Names that hold space for whoever is really behind them. She pointed to 3 names in a neat column. Each had a degree, a charity role, and a photograph in decent lighting. None had a history deep enough to carry the influence Vale implied. They are not fake exactly, she said. Fake would be easier. They are real enough to answer a basic question and empty when you ask the next one. Kai kept his voice low. Did you find any link to the ruins? Not directly. But 2 of their listed donors also appear in old articles about land disputes near protected sites. Quiet purchases. Delayed construction. Missing records. Mina tapped the page. They do not just study places. They take control of them. The ember stirred under Kai's ribs. He breathed around it, slow and careful, until the warmth sank back down. Anger wanted to make the problem simple. Someone was trying to take the ruins, threaten his friends, reach his home. Anger offered a clean answer, become strong faster. But the photos in Vale's folder had not been taken by someone who could be defeated with one clean strike. They had been taken by patience, money, and people willing to stand in boring places for hours. Ryan noticed. His eyes narrowed. He did not ask in front of Mina, which was its own kind of restraint. Then we stop going near the fence, Kai said. If you want us to keep making more stories like this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Azure Inkblade. Now, back to the chapter. Mina's mouth tightened, but she nodded. For now. No heroic exceptions, Kai added. Ryan pointed a chopstick at him. That applies to you too, Ghost. Kai almost objected on reflex, then stopped. Ryan watched the pause and lifted both eyebrows as if daring him to prove the point by being ridiculous. Mina did not smile, but the corner of her mouth threatened to. Kai sighed. Fine. It applies to me too. Saying it out loud made the rule heavier and more real. The nickname landed differently than it used to. Less like a jab. More like a reminder that Ryan was watching because he had decided to stay. Kai had not asked him to stay. That mattered. Ryan did not understand the system, and he understood the ruins only as much as Kai and Mina had allowed. He could have stepped back into jokes and ordinary complaints. Instead he was learning restraint in public, which for Ryan was nearly a form of martial discipline. After school, they walked separate routes to Han's tea shop, arriving 10 minutes apart. Mina came in first and ordered barley tea. Ryan arrived next, loudly complaining about homework. Kai waited outside until the street cleared, then slipped through the back. The separation made sense and still felt awful. Kai watched Mina enter alone and had to keep himself from following too quickly. He watched Ryan pause outside the shop window, perform a convincing yawn, and then step inside like he had no reason to care who saw him. By the time Kai took the alley behind the shop, his nerves were worn thin from doing nothing on purpose. Han listened without interrupting while Kai explained the card, the cafe, Vale's offer, and Mina's research. Lena stood near the shelves with her arms crossed, her expression sharpening at every careful omission. The tea shop felt different with everyone gathered in the back room. Smaller, but not like the apartment had felt smaller. This was crowded with intention. Boxes of dried leaves lined one wall. A kettle hissed on a portable burner. The table between them was scarred by years of cups and elbows, and for once Kai was grateful for every ordinary mark on it. "You involved them," she said when he finished. Kai lowered his eyes. They were already involved. That is what everyone says when they are late to honesty. Lena did not raise her voice. She did not need to. The sentence had the precision of a blade laid flat against his palm. Kai wanted to defend himself, to explain the timing, the fear, the way every choice had seemed to close around him too quickly. Then he looked at Mina's tired face and Ryan's clenched hands and swallowed the defense. The words stung because they were fair. Mina did not gloat. Ryan did not grin. Han only poured tea into 5 small cups and pushed them around the table. "Then we make the involvement disciplined," Han said. "No one visits the ruins alone. No one answers messages from unknown numbers. No one follows a stranger because curiosity feels like courage. If there is contact, you bring it here." The rules sounded simple enough to be embarrassing, which was why Han made them repeat each one. Mina repeated them cleanly. Kai repeated them carefully. Ryan muttered until Han looked at him, then said them properly. By the 3rd repetition, the rules stopped feeling like scolding and started feeling like rope tied between people crossing dark water. Ryan lifted a hand. "What if the stranger starts it? Then you leave. What if leaving looks weak?" Han's gaze settled on him. "Weak people survive foolish pride every day by refusing to carry it." Ryan looked away first. That, more than any argument, told Kai the words had landed. Ryan's anger did not vanish. Kai could see it still working under his skin, searching for a useful shape. The difference was that he was searching. A week ago he would have turned fury into motion and trusted everyone else to keep up. Now he sat with both hands wrapped around a teacup he had not drunk from and forced himself to listen. They spent the next hour making rules that sounded almost embarrassingly small. Which streets were crowded enough to use after dark? Which entrances at school had cameras? Which teachers were likely to notice if someone unknown lingered near the gates? Mina wrote everything down in a plain notebook labeled Biology Review. Lena added contact points at Azure Meridian Hall and made Kai repeat the names until he stopped stumbling over them. Han marked 3 places on the city map where a person could change trains without losing sight of the platform behind them. Mina created a check-in schedule so ordinary it looked like homework reminders. Ryan suggested code words, was vetoed twice for making them too dramatic, and finally settled on weather terms because nobody sounded suspicious complaining about rain. No prophecy. No grand vow. Just routes, names, times, and signals. Kai found that strangely comforting. Grand vows belonged to people who already knew what story they were in. Routes and signals belonged to people trying to get through the next day without giving fear the steering wheel. That felt more honest. It also felt more possible. When Kai returned home, exhaustion sat heavily in his limbs, but it was different from the frantic sleeplessness of the night before. It had shape. It had company. His mother was home by then, shoes left crooked near the door and a half-finished cup of tea cooling on the table. Kai stood in the entry for a moment and let the sight settle him. He did not tell her about Vale. He was not ready, and he hated that he was not ready. But he did wash the cup, check the lock, and leave the hallway light on. Small things. Real things. He trained only until the stone warmed, then stopped while he still wanted more. Chi 17 of 30 stability improved. Support structure, preliminary. Kai stared at the last line for a long moment. Preliminary was not safe. It was not enough. The word carried a warning and a mercy. Preliminary meant fragile. It meant untested. It meant one bad choice could still tear the whole structure loose. But it also meant something existed now where nothing had existed before. A first version. A beginning that did not depend on Kai pretending he could stand alone forever. But it was no longer nothing.